Hey guys, Board now with you for a quick bit of entertainment news and movie news in particular. And this should be of interest to horror fans because it's just come out today. In fact, Variety has reported that there is set to be a new Jeepers Creepers movie. So this will be the fourth part of the franchise, but by the sounds of it, it's going to be more of a reboot with plans to restart the franchise. So it's said that there's plans for a new trilogy of films. Still with a reference to the original franchise, I think, when you get into the plot. There will be certain nods to the original franchise, but I'm assuming because they're planning a trilogy of films and it's a new studio, everything else, that maybe this is going to be a bit more of a reboot. Now, first thing to say is that it will not be directed by the original director of the original three films, Victor Serval. He will not be a part of this, and I think it's fair to say part of the reason for that is his murky history when it comes to sexual assault and the fact that he was his home was found with child pornography on his computer, and this all came out. I mean, it's in the past, but even so, it came out over the last few years, and I think it's probably fair to say it's a big reason why he's not being called back to direct this new movie. But I think maybe Jeepers Creepers, the franchise, needs a fresh start on two fronts. Not just that front, which I guess is the most important side of things, but it also because Jeepers Creepers 3, the last film, did suck, and he directed that. I'm a fan of the original two movies, but the third one was really very poor. So altogether, I think it's best that we move away from that director and have a fresh start. So having said that, Variety have reported that this movie should be released in America by fall this year, fall 2021. So maybe it will be early 2022 for the rest of the world. And you've got the studio Scream Media who have taken on the project. Now they're an independent horror studio. For example, they produced the recent Nicolas Cage movies, Willy's Wonderland, which came out in the last few weeks. It's one I've still got to catch up on, and also a movie called Outpost, or Their Outpost, from Rod. It's that Rob. Sorry, I'm tripping over my word. Rod Laurie's The Outpost. So a couple films there. I've not heard of the second one, Outpost. So they've picked this up, and as I said, they're expected to put it out for a 2021 full release in the States. So a new trilogy plan. Now, it's being directed by the guy behind the Iron Sky movies. I've not seen any of those, I'll be honest, so you guys will have to tell me in the comments below if you've seen the Iron Skies films and what sort of quality they are. He's got quite a complicated name to pronounce, I'll be honest. So Timo Ferruccia. I'll go with that. It's probably wrong, but it's the Iron Sky Films guy as well. It's written by someone called Sean Michael Arago, and he wrote or was involved in a film called Icon Class or Classed. Um, it's another one I've not heard of. I'll be honest. It's a weird mixture of names involved actually because it's produced by people who produced the Bond film Quantum of Solace, so a lot more like mainstream blockbuster. But also then you've got one of the producers who was involved in The Devil Rejects. Now I have to say some alarm bells should be ringing maybe with those two because Quantum of Solace I've not seen, but I know it's meant to be one of the weaker Bond films, certainly recent ones, and Devil Rejects is from what I can remember, just rubbish. So, but they're only producers, so you can't necessarily gauge that much. So the main setup for the plot, from what we hear, is that it will take place at the Horror Hound Festival, which will be staging. This is in the film, of course. Will be staging its first event at the Louisiana um, setting, which just happens to be the the, the hometown of the whole creeper legend. Funny that, really. And we have a fanboy Chase who pressures his girlfriend Lane to come along for the ride. But Lane's, in a horror sort of way, starts getting unexplained premonitions that involve the before mentioned urban legend of the creeper and the town, and that she may well be at the centre of it, and this becomes more and more apparent as they get closer to the event. So obviously it's going to be at that event where the creeper sort of finally appears. Now, one thing I will comment on with that premise is, pretty generic, typical premise, but obviously in the right hands it can work well. But I will say it bothers me a little than it has to be the boy, the male part of that relationship who's like the fanatic, the horror fanatic who's like dragging his girlfriend along. Because newsflash, folks, it's 2021 and plenty of females are into horror. In fact, throughout, I think it's been a long term thing that, hey, plenty of women like horror movies. So it would have been nice if they had reversed that stereotype and actually had it been the woman who's like madly into horror and dragged her not so keen boyfriend along. But obviously, no indication on whether that's going to work against the film, or it's obviously nothing to do with quality. But just a point that I think is worth making. There's no cast members announced for this yet, so that's going to be interesting when they announce that, whether they'll get the original guy who played the creeper back. Now, I won't give much away from Jeepers Creepers 3, except that it's really not worth watching because it was a mess. But they sort of they sold the fans short and basically ripped us off with that one because of the cameo appearance of the original lead actress, which basically turned out to be a few seconds at the end of the movie, and yet the dickheads put her on the poster and made a deal, say, hey, we're bringing the original actress back. And I say that because I think she was, in the first Jeepers Creepers film, she was really good and really stood out in some ways. So the thought of getting her back for the third one was actually quite excited. But no cast news for this just yet, so I'll keep my eyes peeled on that. But over to you guys. What do you think of this? Are you excited for a new Jeepers Creepers? Do you think the franchise still has legs? And will they get 3 films of it? I mean, obviously, if this one doesn't do that well, then it's sort of unlikely we will get the follow-on parts. I can't really speak much of the quality like the director of Eye and Sky because I've not seen those movies. Some of the names involved seem a bit, here and there. I don't know if you can get much of a grasp of the quality, but yeah, I guess at least a fresh start may be welcome given the baggage of the original director. But are you guys up for this? Do you think it can work? What do you think of the choice of director? Stuff like that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. And I will be back soon with more movie news, but also TV news as well. So look out for that. Thanks, guys. See you again soon. Goodbye.